All right, what is up? We are live. Worst post-match podcast coming back at you. We're gonna do a little bit of a recap episode this time and kind of touch on some of the things. What's going on? I'm actually going to do my best to keep this one very positive because it's been negative enough. I think the boys have taken their heat. I don't want this to be this false positive weird thing that everyone tries to do on social media where it's like, oh, it was okay and all this stuff, blah blah blah. Like, no, it fucking wasn't. All right, but it's not just gonna be shitting on the guys because, I mean, you weren't out there, you didn't play. Half the people with some of these opinions, barely played minute club rugby, much less, anything of being on the field against the All Blacks and what that looks like or feels like. So, but all in all, let's get into it right now, okay? As I just said, I'm going to keep it positive, but I'm going to start this off by saying I'm in the camp, right? Everyone's got their own camps with, the world these days. This was not a positive event or a positive outcome for the U.S. I mean, putting 40,000 people in a stadium to watch rugby, okay, cool, positive. Getting your fucking doors blown off and giving up triple digits, there's nothing positive. You just came off of losing to Uruguay in a World Cup qualifier, and then you get shit stomped by the All Blacks. It wasn't a positive thing. We paid them $2+ million to come over here and kick the shit out of us for fun as their little November warm-up. It's not positive, okay? It just isn't. So, flip it. Congrats to Nate and Ryan on scoring tries. Obviously a big event, scoring the first 2 tries. Kind of a sad deal that it took us till 2021 to score 2 tries against the All Blacks, but we fucking did it, so good job. Nate and Ryan, congrats. Probably not 2 more deserving guys on that team. Probably 2 of the best people, best dudes, bros, whatever the hell you want to call them, best guys that you're going to meet in rugby from the MLR to international. Just 2 of the best fucking dudes around. So congrats to those 2. Hell of a job. Look forward to seeing if they can get things turned around and what they get going down in San Diego next year. So that'll be a good thing to see. What I wanted to touch on this one was, so I called the episode "What the hell are we doing?" And would like to focus on maybe what we're going to do next. Like, where do you go from here? Because that's all people kind of talk about, and some of the other nonsense. I don't know. Maybe I'm super biased. I have my opinions, right? So this is my platform to give out my opinions. If people agree, awesome. If you don't agree, would like to hear some counterpoints in the comments below, all that good stuff. Usually not going to respond to your comments because getting in a comment discussion with people on Facebook seems to just be a futile effort. And, oh, sorry, Facebook's yelling at me because my camera's too shitty. But whatever, we're just going to roll with it. Seems to be kind of silly, but I will try to respond in other videos or bring on guests that have different opinions and things like that. But, all right, nuts and bolts, man. Like, I've touched on this when I was on the Rugby Rant with those guys. Also, shout out to the Rugby Rant podcast. Great dudes over there. It just looks like uninspired rugby. And it's the same thing I kind of touched on, and I'll get into it a little bit more in depth in what I see and have heard and all this stuff. We don't have an identity as a rugby nation and as a national team specifically. We have no identity as a team. We have, based on personnel and coaching staff and whatnot, we may have a good culture for the most part. From everything I've ever heard from the guys and friends still on the team, we have a good culture. Guys get along, guys are hanging out, all the stuff in the hotel that people don't see, kind of shooting the shit, playing cards, group chat fucking messages, sending memes back and forth. Like, all that stuff is happening. And, that's some of the most important things that, you have a good culture. I don't think we have, thankfully, not yet. We haven't reached the point of this, like, clicky stigma, guys growing up here, growing up there, pick this pick, didn't get picked, blah, 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 that you maybe see in some other countries. We don't really have that. So once you kind of get to that level, you get together pretty quickly, which is really cool. But also that's the bare minimum. Like, guys getting along and performing together is the bare minimum of elite level rugby. We still don't have a fucking identity. We've never had one. Before my time, I think some people would say that we were leaning towards this, like, forward dominant Northern Hemisphere style, and I think that was probably due to a repetitive English and Irish influence with the national team coaching staff. And obviously that led to, like, the style of play that I unfortunately got taught in was like this, like, keep it close, don't do anything stupid, which was kind of my indoctrination into test rugby, which was very disappointing in retrospect, but I didn't even know what the hell I was being taught at the time, because I didn't even know. When I had my time on the national team, I didn't even know how to tie my goddamn cleats. So I wish I knew then, when I was, still a healthy young lad. But anywho, and then I think, my personal opinion, obviously Tolk's kind of kept that thing going, and, this weird kicking, limited attack, only certain people are allowed to do certain shit type of thing. But, fuck, we still won all the games we were kind of supposed to back then. But then, in my personal opinion, I think the best they ever looked was under Mitchell. Now everyone's got their opinion of Mitchell, of using the job as a stepping stone or a springboard, whatever terminology you want to use, to bigger and better things. So, like, yeah, part of me is like, fuck that guy. But, it was the best the team ever looked. When you watched them play under Mitchell, attack, defense, it was the best they ever looked. I'm not going to be able to spout off stats. I'm sure someone will be able to call me out that Gold's win percentage to this or that, and something's going to be better, right? Whatever. They still looked better. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Under Mitchell, watching them on the field, watching them play, they looked the best. And, it was maybe that Southern Hemisphere type of influx. Now, obviously, South African style of play is the asterisks of the Southern Hemisphere because they're in their own kind of world. I don't think we have an identity. And I think it's a unique conversation that we always have in the U.S. of, like, oh, are we going to be a Southern Hemisphere type of team or a Northern Hemisphere type of team? And I'm like, well, we're both. Because the Northern Hemisphere is never going to play a professional game in 110-degree heat and 90% humidity. And in the same season, play a game in 30 degrees and potential snow. Nobody else does that. It's either pretty hot and shitty or pretty cold and shitty whenever they play, right? We play in the spring in a country that brings along all of those weather patterns. I'm gonna say something here later. I'm getting to a point, but nobody in the Prem, besides now with the URC, and some of these guys are gonna have to travel down to South Africa and completely flip-flop weather patterns from northern to southern hemisphere within a season. That is going to be wild, and that is something I am incredibly intrigued to see how it plays out, because that's probably the most accurate to what we deal with in the States, between if you start early in the fall, like if you're a early September team into November, you're kind of getting, you're getting the end brunt of summer to the beginning of winter, and then if you're a February to June spring team, you're getting the brutalness of winter into the beginnings of summer. There's not a lot of other places I think get different weather patterns. All of England is getting, all of England, Scotland, and Ireland in January is the same. You can't, Boston and San Diego are two very different places in February. So I don't think we get to have the luxury of saying, oh, we're Northern Hemisphere or Southern Hemisphere. I'm going to say some wild shit. I've said this before. I've had people hear me say this, and I've seen their faces, and it's my favorite. Um, Honestly, the closest country we have to follow and the most accurate, and what will probably do us in the most success if we just do a better fucking job, is France. We should model ourselves behind France. One, geographically is very similar to us. They play a style of rugby based off their geographical location in the country. The Northern France teams play very different than this. I'm off screen. Northern France teams play very different than Southern France teams. Just like in the U.S., Northeast teams are going to play different than South teams, then Midwest teams, then the Mountain teams. Everyone's going to kind of play different. It's going to be their own mesh of styles. They bring in a physical, big-bodied style of play built on, I'm combining things of the current plus the old French flair that you used to watch that used to beat New Zealand semi-regularly. Yeah, that's my opinion. Not many, red, white, and blue patriotic Americans want us to model much of the shit we do behind France. But in my opinion, that's the closest thing we have, especially based on their professional model, right? The top 14, they play rugby forever if you take all the divisions, right? But boom, top 14, they play a set schedule. Then they have the Euros, and it gets all weird, and the way the French do things on that side of things, I'm like, yeah, don't fucking do that. But the salaries that are being paid in France are the best in the world, which is what the MLR should model off of. You should be paying guys a salary that changes their lives, because that's about my fourth point that I'm going to get to. And yeah, to me, it's the most accurate. You take the older French flair attack with their current physicality and I'm going to blank on their defensive coach's name. Sean Edwards' defensive style of play. To me, that is the perfect model for the United States. We're not going to be New Zealand. We're not New Zealanders. We're not Kiwis. We don't model. If anyone's ever been around Kiwis, they have a New Zealander is a goddamn New Zealander. They're not all the same, but they're all the goddamn same. Okay, they're unworldly, positive human beings and fall under that weird, unique New Zealand culture, which is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful country. Bucket list. South Island is the place I would move to if I'm ever in a different tax bracket and can do whatever the hell I want. Bucket list place to live. Absolutely. Hunting, fishing, rugby, everything a man could ever want. But the United States is not going to adopt Kiwi, New Zealand rugby culture. We're just two very different places. It's just not going to happen. So I don't think it's the right thing to model. Australia's in shambles. It's not the right thing to model. I mean, they've got 4 different styles of the same goddamn game, all played on one field, and they can't decide which one's their favorite. Right? The complete true Northern Hemisphere is not going to make sense. Right? Guys in San Diego, Arizona, Texas, right? The south of the U.S. is not going to play rugby that way. They're going to let it loose because in February they can spin the rock. It's not cold. It's not raining. Well, Texas, you never know, but it's just not. So, yeah, some people don't want to hear it. What's Nate got to say? Is we can look a lot like Japan. Yeah, Japan's probably similar. If there was another country, I'd say France or Japan. I just like saying France because it just kind of pisses people off, but it's accurate. I haven't heard anyone give me a really good argument against it. The MLR already sells out at every goddamn point of not signing American players and bringing in guys from all over the goddamn world. So we're already way ahead on that front if we want to be like France. But to me, that is our nearest peer to grab. Japan, yes, we don't live in an authoritarian society and have, I don't want to see the Utah Warriors become the SoFi Warriors and San Diego become, I don't know what's a big business in San Diego, the Bank of America Legion. That's not what I want to go about and how they find money over there. But But yeah, between Japan and France, those are our most near peer that we should attain to. I think it's a pipe dream to kind of look at New Zealand or England and Ireland as these markers. I don't think it's accurate for us. So yeah, logistically, financially, that's France and Japan is what we should start looking at. And let the Kiwis come over here and Aussies and South Africans and just get their shine while they're here and collect a check and do what they do. Looking at my notes here. So yeah, that's the identity I think we should go for. I don't want to bring in a French coach because that shit's not going to go over well. Look at Austin. That didn't do well, did it? No, it didn't. But yeah, Ross or Dan or any of you weirdos at USA Rugby, I think that's what you should be striving to. What's another big thing that we need to address? As American rugby, what the hell can we figure out? Bridger's, alright, yeah, Bridger's just a North Island fan because he lived there for 6 months and thinks he's an honorary Kiwi. No, Bridger. South Island's where it's at, bro. Watch one episode of Meat Eater. Anyways, see, I'll respond to your comments. I'm here for the boys. I think one big step, and this will probably be another kind of rant of multiple points making their way into an argument, is with rugby at the moment, right? All you have to be is a good player to make the MLR or especially the national team. You know, some of these takes are hard to say because I still have friends on the team, but we have very few great players in this country, much less on the national team, right? You know, myself included, I was good. There's a lot of pretty good. There's a lot of really good. We have very, very few great and very, very few excellent world-class players. That's just the fact. And you kind of saw, right? That's really what you saw. The difference between a good and a great player. That's what you saw last Saturday or whatever it was. Good versus great. All of our guys are good. You put them on other teams or they go overseas and they do well. Like, they're going to play. They're going to get minutes. They're going to be involved with teams. All of our guys are good. But you saw the difference between good and great. And when we have some of our great players mixed in, you see some of the results get better. But it's not an identity. And there's not a standard of greatness. It's just, all right, he's pretty good, so we gotta give him a chance. And how you develop that, honestly, at this point, I've kind of actually never altered my perspective. I think it's just been a little more hammered home. To me, it's the high school and college game at this point, right? We're 4 years in, going into the 5th year of the MLR. I love club rugby. I think club rugby should exist. I think it's a beautiful thing, especially now as a current late stage development tool, a rehab tool for local teams if guys need to get minutes and they don't have academy teams or they want something a little bit better, right? Club rugby needs to exist till the dawn of time. But at this point in year 5, I don't believe there's a plethora, right? All of you guys in the comments and whoever's going to fucking have their goddamn baby whiny fit that their fucking cousins, nephews, stepdogs, best friends, aunt's babysitter is an absolute fucking stud in Paducah, Kentucky club and he just never got looked at and now he's a criminal defense attorney that makes $1 million a year and he just couldn't have done it, but he would have been a stud. Fucking cool, man. I've heard that story 1,000,000 times. Awesome. There's an exception to everything. If that's a comment you're going to leave, I fucking got it. Don't. But there right now, at high-level club rugby, is not a plethora of guys who can, 1, play or start in the MLR, 2, play or start on the national team. I think it's a tapped resource. If they haven't been found yet, then they need to be found by MLR teams, do a better job of finding these domestic guys and bringing them in and giving them a goddamn reason to leave their $50,000 a year job and pay better money because these owners are failing. But so that's later on the notes, but Obviously, it's something still near and dear to me, but it's not where it's going to come from. It has to now be the high school and colleges, and that's kind of a terrifying thing. If anyone has been or around high school or collegiate rugby, I mean, you can name 10 to 15 teams maybe at the college level that are producing guys that are marginally ready to play. I could probably name you 10 high school teams that are doing the same thing. And it's one, a lack of resources and a lack of coaching. Number one. It's a failure of coaching. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing per se, because I've seen both sides. There's the guy or gal. Sorry, I've worked with both. There's the guy or gal, the person that raises their hand, is like, hey, I'll do it. This, I watched rugby this one time. The community put out a newsletter that, the high school or the youth needed a coach, and they stepped up. Those people should be cherished. They need to be given a little more resources, help, support, like kind of how to coach and what standard to look for. But some of these old-timey, know-it-all, been coaching for too goddamn long and think they have the answers to the calculus questions of test-level rugby when they're barely fucking doing pre-algebra, those guys I have a problem with. They need to step their game up. You need to stop looking at USA Rugby and blaming them for everything and learn some things on your own and teach them to your players, right? Especially basics, fundamentals, footwork, passing techniques. It's atrocious. I mean, people are out here trying to teach triple dummy, switch it, miss ball stuff that they see on TV, and the kids aren't even standing in proper footwork to start the play. They can't pass offhanded, strong-handed. They can't pass with their open leg, and they can't pass over their lead leg, wrong-footed, right? If you've taught anyone how to pass before, which is all skills you need to teach. Everyone wants to pass perfect, right? Catch, 1, 2, open your hip, drive through, press. Beautiful. You still need to be able to pass over wrong-footed and wrong-handed when you have pressure in your face and want to get a play off. But that shit's not taught. And all right, JD's leaving 3 comments. I'll get you in a second, JD, because I'm sure you have something good to say, and I'll argue with you all day. But that shit's not taught. I get kids left and right that don't even know to stand with their outside leg up when receiving a pass, or to stand with their inside leg up, depending on what footwork and attack line they're trying to develop. Are you going diagonal? Are you doing an arc line? Are you a forward trying to use outside footwork? Are you trying to use inside footwork? What is the goal of what you're doing? They don't even know that. They're just told stand there and run. And I was like, well, that's all we can teach them. No, it's not. It's not. You're failing these kids. You're letting them down, and they're not getting prepared. So, yeah, stop asking USA Rugby for help. They're not going to fucking help you. They can't even help themselves. The unions, local clubs, local all this, do it yourself. Find other resources, okay? Stop using USA Rugby sucking as your scapegoat, because you're just letting the kids down, okay? Find other resources. There is some, you just got to work a little bit harder. Don't go to USA Rugby whatever org. I don't even know. I log in once a year and think, oh, they should help it and run it. They should be running a coaching clinic in Topeka, Kansas. How, man? There's 300 million people in this goddamn country. They don't have the resources to run a coaching clinic in Topeka, Kansas. Do it yourself. Find other ways to do it. Find an MLR guy and fly him out. It'll be half the cost. Do something, right? Don't let USA Rugby be your savior and your scapegoat, okay? Because all you high school and college coaches, I don't have that many followers. I don't know if any of you are going to see this, but you're the last frontier. That's all we have. These guys, there's going to be there's going to be 10 guys a year that maybe slip through the cracks from college, go play club, and try to develop from there, and maybe they get a shot at an academy or a tryout. I've got a crying 2-year-old not wanting to go to bed right now, so you guys may get some background noise. But that's very rare. The true guys. I actually was speaking to a high school team the other day, And I told them, I was like, the group here, this group, your generation, will be the teams that beat the All Blacks in England. It's you guys standing here. It's not one single person probably currently playing in the MLR. If I'm doing my math right. Very few. Okay? No one from my age. No one probably over the age of 25. Nobody. 23. Right? No one's going to do it. Everyone 23 and below is the future of this next step. All those guys are going to get good. They're going to start taking swings. But this generation of high school kids and U14s is really the future. So, you high school coaches are our last chance. Or not our last chance. You're our only chance. The college game, man, Rob, the Hammer, we're on the same page. Man, I've talked to that guy plenty of times. If I don't know how I'd ever have enough influence to be involved with this, but this multitude of college divisions and rules and crossover this and cross league or division or whatever it is, right? Your D1 NCR, small school, D1 AA, all that bullshit, right? It's a crock of shit. It's a bunch of people in charge who think they're more important than they are, and all you're doing is hurting these kids and these players by your dumbass rules and your different leagues. Someone, right? So now I'm just complaining with no answer, which is what I hate doing. But you need to have one league, one entity. You can have a couple divisions, right? Your D1A, AA, 2, 3, right? Normal for everyone's brain. Men's college rugby, women's college rugby. 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you really, really good? Cool. Are you kind of good, but you haven't got your shit together? Cool. Are you really bad and kind of trying? We have no idea what's going to happen. You're a small school. You don't have a coach. 27 different reasons. Cool. Are you just real bad and you don't give a shit? You just want to show up on Saturday, drink beer, wear short shorts, fucking take pictures. You don't give a fuck? Awesome. That's where you live. All those things should exist. But you shouldn't have it through 3 different conferences. It's insane. No one can keep track, right? Fucking Alex Goff reports on everything. I don't know how the guy does it, but he reports on every damn thing, but he shouldn't, right? The college game needs to come together. You also need to all play in the spring, right? Coinciding with your professional sport. Stop competing with goddamn football. No rugby. Competitive, legitimate rugby that matters should be played in the fall, competing with football. Just stop. Please stop. You're just gonna lose. You're always gonna lose. Compete with baseball, basketball, wrestling, and soccer. You got a fighting chance. You're not gonna compete with the other contact sport. We are the other contact sport. You're not gonna compete with the contact sport for players. We're just gonna fail. Please stop doing that. Get your shit together. One entity, different divisions based on skill level, resources, and all that stuff, and play in the spring alongside the MLR, just like every other big sport in the U.S. does. Please and thank you. High school, college rugby, you're the answer. All right, gee, MLR is also... All right, you basically just agreed with me, so that's good. These D1 level athletes, let's see, Jared Danielson. Those D1 level athletes need exposure to the sport from a young age. They need to choose rugby over football. Right? And that's never going to happen. JD, I'm right there with you, bro. That one, you're right. It's never going to happen until there's scholarships. And it's never, ever, ever, ever fucking ever, to all you people on MLR Fan Zone and these stupid message boards and all this crap. I love that you're into the sport. Don't get me wrong. But if you are over the age of 40 and you pay for your mortgage and you have a job and you have all this stuff and you've been playing for 25 years, the love of the game is not going to bring any young American athlete over to rugby. It's just not. No one is going to live the rugby life anymore for $15 an hour. They're not. It's not going to happen. Just get that through your head. Please, stop posting that. It's just going to happen. Until these MLR owners Stop failing, right? We're in year 5. Year 2, you got the happy to be here. Attaboy. Good job. It exists. It's great. Let's all sing Kumbaya. We have pro rugby. Sweet. This is awesome. Cool. That's done now. Welcome to the United States of America, sporting and cultural scene. No one gives a shit. You're now in year 5. You're still offering adults, grown men, to play professional rugby for $15 a fucking hour. I can't drive down the street and not see a sign for every fast food, liquor store, drive-through, gas station that's not paying $15 an hour. And you have to work part-time. And nobody's trying to murder your existence as a human on television doing that. You just gotta boop, 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 beep. Would you like, 20 on 5? All right, man, have a good day. No. Here, I want you to show up every single day, train your hardest, work out, eat right, share an apartment with other stinky dudes, hopefully make the team. Oh, by the way, there's 15 other dudes who want to murder you legally on a field. Also, these games are going to be streamed. Also, people from all over the world are going to watch it and talk shit about you because you're an American and you did something wrong. By the way, they make 6 figures. You make $15 an hour. It's insane. It is absolutely insane that contract still exists. It's insane that there's no players union. We're gonna get it fucking done. And it's insane that a $15 an hour contract exists. It's a failure. The owners are failing. They're letting the players down. They're letting the people down. They're letting the sport down. They're letting the next generation down because no one's gonna switch over. So again, right? Let's go happy side. Let's go. If you're in the middle, no one's switching over for 15. If you're a semi-good player, no one's coming over for 20. If you're the 1 or 5 guys on your team that ruin the salary cap for everyone else, no one's coming over for 30 or 40 with an apartment, right? Maybe if $45,000 was the minimum, right? That's what the college kids are getting. That's what the young 6'3" tight head who runs like a goddamn wildebeest but can't scrum to save his life. That's what he's getting. Okay, maybe we're having conversations, right? But no, that's the cream of the crop. That's the Cams and Mikey Teos and the fucking whoever, like Ben Folk. Like that's the cream of the crop. You're making $40,000, right? I don't know if I'm airing dirty laundry. I don't think enough fans know this. I mean, at least a lot of the guys I talk to around here, guys I run into, and just shooting the shit beer conversations. Their jaws hit the floor when I tell them what these MLR guys are making. It needs to be talked about more. And I know there's a lot of guys who want to, and they're handcuffed by the networks that they work for and the teams that they work for and the things that they do, and they want to keep their job, and I get it. But I don't have to give a shit. I post this on Facebook and YouTube. I can say whatever I want. If any teams want to sign me, I've already told them that this podcast exists, and I've probably not said great things on a Sunday about one of their games. I've had that conversation with 2 GMs already. They didn't really care. It's whatever. I'm usually always honest. I'm pretty accurate. But it is what it is. The owners are fucking failing, and it just needs to be talked about more. It needs to be addressed, right? Squeaky wheel gets the grease, or whatever that stupid saying is. It's just not talked about enough. And I don't know if we're just trying to, I call it kind of looking at the world through, rugby-shaped glasses. It's these same people that are like, oh, it's just an honor that New Zealand would come over here and grace us with their presence. No, fuck that. It is not an honor to get your ass kicked by 100 points. It's dog shit, right? We should just be happy that there's pro rugby. No, not anymore. Not when you are demanding that these guys are doing it full time, 9 to 5, giving up their lives, sharing apartments, pushing off the rest of their life to do this. You have an obligation to pay these guys. And then on top of that, right, the real pinnacle of this is you're never, ever, ever, ever going to get these kids, right, these inner city baller athletes, these football athlete hubs, are not going to play fucking rugby if you're not paying a salary that does not change their life. Change their life and their family's life, their current family, and their future family's life for generations. You're not. Why would you? There's 5 other sports that they can pick that they can be great at and receive, 1, a scholarship, so you don't have to pay for college. 2, the opportunity after college to make a salary that in year 1, signed on that dotted line, their life is changed. Potentially forever if they're smart with their money. You're not even like, listen, let's get into it. I got a couple points. I'm trying to keep this one short. Definitely keeping this one under an hour. Like, you're just not. All these, like, this Colorado XO thing, or the Raptors, right? I'm reading these bios, and it's like, all right, it's some Division II tight end or defensive end that didn't make it. That guy's already playing rugby. Right? Like, that guy's already playing rugby. This guy. Right? That guy's already playing. The 6'4" plus white dude that's marginally semi-athletic and needs to learn how. That guy's already playing. Right? He's already playing. Every 6'5" kind of good tight end, defensive end, white dude is already playing rugby. We don't need him. He's not going to help. He's just not. Right? Every, like, Division 1AA, Division 2 corner that kind of sucked, he's already playing. We already got that guy. If you're not going to make the leap to the elite level, greatness level of athlete, true athlete. Right now, we're not even getting into how they become a rugby player, learn the game, learn the nuance, the minutia of the game. We're just talking these elite level athletes that no one shuts up about that we have in the States, which we do, but the elite, you're never going to touch those kids because a lot of them are U18s and U20s, and they go on to play other sports in college because they have scholarships and they can get drafted and make 6 figures, not 15 grand, right? And people are like, oh, well, you can't do that until... No, that's not how it works. If you want those guys, you're going to overpay current dudes right now for 5 or 6 years, for 6 years. 6 years. The league minimum should be $55,000. The league minimum, $55,000. And then from there, whatever you negotiate, you need to get an agent, you need a finance guy, right, whatever you do your thing. And you're going to overpay dudes for like 6 years. But that's the only way anyone under the age of 18 is going to legitimately give a shit about rugby over other sports. Just not going to happen. So, and to me, say what you want to say, right? If you own a team, yeah, that's what I'm saying. JD, we're on the same page with all these things, and I understand you can post comments on mine, but you're not allowed to say it because you work for the man. But the money has to be first. Carrot, stick, carrot. Carrot has to exist before you get the string and the stick and the person to fucking tie it to. You need the fucking carrot first. Like, you think that's obvious, but it's not. So, listen, the owners are failing. And if you don't like to hear that, eat shit. You're an owner of the team. So, just like every other league where the owners are the goddamn devil, we don't really look at that as these MLR owners because a lot of times most of these people or have interacted with them, right? But they're all failing, okay? And if you want to own a team and you don't have the means, right? Same thing as an owner, right? We can get into the capitalism of this, right? And you don't have the means or the whatever to pay these guys, then you shouldn't own a fucking team. And I can't wait for you to get to bought out, and I hope you fail because you're ruining people's lives. You're not ruining people's lives, but you're inhibiting people's growth in their lives. You're making the game shitty. And you're making the culture of the game shitty and negative for people because you're making them live miserably. and they don't feel like you don't feel like a professional athlete, even though you're held to a professional athlete standard. It's very hard to walk around as a professional athlete when you have to have a part-time job and you share a car with four other dudes and you share an apartment, not because you want to be frugal, but because you have to, with four other dudes, and you got to pool the debit cards together to meet the bar tab. You don't feel like a professional athlete in the United States. You don't walk around like a professional athlete. You don't carry yourself like a professional athlete. And all that stuff matters, right? We've talked about the psyche of everyone, has talked about the psyche of sports. If you don't walk around and feel like a pro, it's hard to carry yourself and perform like a pro. It's brutal. Mentally, it's brutal on these guys. The sport is already brutal enough on your mental and physical state. Now you don't even have the financial means to back it up. It's constant, right? Practice is rough. Film is rough. If you had a bad game, that means your media and outside noise is rough. And then it's like, I gotta walk back across the street to my 3-bedroom apartment, and so and so's loud and it's messy and blah blah blah. I got no peace. I have no time to myself. Like this shit is a grind, and I just don't think it's talked about enough from the player's perspective. And obviously they don't want to complain. They've got a job and things like that. So I'm happy to do it for them. But it's just I saw all this stuff. I tell people all the time I had a full-time job. I worked 4 12s. I worked 6 to 6 every week. Got to practice. Like say the joke all the time. I'd fucking box a little protein bars and pre-workout in my car. I'd slam a protein bar, slam some pre-workout on the drive to practice. We would practice from 6:30 to 10 o'clock at night. Go home, get home by about 11. I was back up at 4:35 in the morning. That was my first 3 years. I mean, that was the life. And I didn't know any different because I was, a club rugby guy. That was just the grind you did. But I also just saw the bullshit and saw how others were treated, and it's unfortunate, and it needs to get better. There needs to be a minimum salary of $55,000. That's where it has to start. That's attainable. That's doable. I'm not talking $100K. We're not the NFL yet, right? I don't know what soccer makes, but fuck soccer. Who cares? $55,000 is the league minimum. That needs to start being shouted from the rooftops for these guys. There needs to be a players' union. There needs to be all this stuff, right? This is it's kind of the point of this episode. Where do we go? How do we get there? Like, let's put numbers on things. Let's put pressure on these. If you are in this local area, it has to be better, or you're not going to get any improvement. Because why would you? So, yeah. Okay, reversing that. France, I believe, is our most near-peer goal to reach, right? They're not quite Southern Hemisphere. They're not quite Northern Hemisphere. They're right in the middle, just like us. Then Japan. Doing things backwards. Then Japan, okay? This England, New Zealand idea, chuck it. It's for the birds. It's been let's see. For me personally, it's been a 16-year experiment. I could only imagine some more of the old-timey fellas. You're talking 2-3 decade experiment of this true blue northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere nonsense. It's just not going to happen. France and Japan is where we need to aim for. Let the Kiwis and everyone else come over here, get their shine, and help, bring up the standard. I'm not against it at all. High school and college is the future. Club rugby needs to exist as an outlet and a continuation of play for other adults. And high-level club rugby needs to be played as a potential feeder, development, and drop-down option to save some of these MLR teams some money, because they can't even afford their fucking teams right now, much less these fake-ass academy teams that they keep saying exist. That those guys aren't being paid. You can call it what you want. Club rugby should exist. It's going to save them money, especially high-level club. But again, high school, college, you're the future. If you coach high school and college right now, please keep doing what you're doing. Find more resources outside of USA Rugby to help get you better. All right, I'm going to throw this out here. This is my pipe dream to Ross Young, Mr. Young, actually my former boss. Ross, Dan, Payne, even though you don't technically work for US, all you guys at USA Rugby, if you hear this, please, right? Please. If we're going to do some wild wazoo shit and pay the All Blacks millions of dollars to come kick the shit out of us on our home soil, and we're already going to be bankrupt anyways. So, there's a name, Scott Robertson, right? For the love of God, I hope this gets picked up and somehow he sees this. Scott Robertson should be your holy mecca of person to bring over here. Listen, Scott, you could wait your turn and coach the All Blacks, and you're going to win. You're going to be great. You're going to win a bunch of World Cups, but you're just going to be another All Black coach that won World Cups. If you come over here where we're willing to waste millions of dollars on one fucking game, how about we waste millions of dollars on a goddamn coach? Bring Scott Robinson over here. Robertson. I don't know why I keep saying Robinson. Scott Robertson. Scott, you can go down as the greatest coach in rugby history if you take the U.S. from wherever God knows that we're ranked right now and make it a top 10 team in 2 World Cup cycles. You'd be the greatest coach of all time. Greatest rugby coach of all time. You are the one that brings the USA to glory. Greatest rugby coach of all time. Ross, USA Rugby people. If you're going to waste $1 million fucking dollars, waste it on him. Right? Waste it on him. Don't go get some second tier, low rent, fucking move in special coach from somewhere that's just going to use this job to go somewhere else. Pay him a shitload of money and bring in arguably the best coach in the best rugby country in the world. Offer him whatever. Just offer him everything. If we're going to do wazoo shit, let's do some wild shit. Go get Scott Robertson. Scott, you will go down in history as the greatest rugby coach of all time. You come over here and bring the USA to glory. Okay? Boom. Any other comments I need to respond to? I don't think so. I lost some viewers. We got some comments. We got some views today. As always, appreciate you guys chiming in. Kept it at 47. Wanted to keep it under 50. Quick recap, right? The Uruguay, I clump them together. The Uruguay series and the New Zealand was not a positive. There's nothing positive. We fucking lost a World Cup qualifier on points. We got fucking triple digit shit stomped by the All Blacks. Nothing positive about it. Immediate hypocrite. Nate and Mattias, congrats on scoring. No 2 people deserved it better than you guys. That's awesome. Love to see it. 2 of the best dudes in all of rugby, period. So congrats to Nate and Mattias. You guys deserved it. That was awesome to see. We need to figure out our goddamn identity as a rugby nation. And I believe our nearest peer and our nearest goal is France. Second to that is Japan. All right? We need to establish the difference between good and great players. High school and college coaches, you are our goddamn future. You are the light at the end of the tunnel. You are everything that will build us back. High school, college coaches, high-level club needs to exist as a feeder, development, and injury drop-down tool for MLR teams. And numero 2, Trace. USA Rugby, Ross, all you guys, if you're going to do stupid-ass shit and give away millions of dollars, don't give it away for one game. Go get Scott Robertson. Scott Robertson, if you ever see this, you'll go down as the greatest coach of all time. So, what do you want to do? Keep winning stupid Super Rugby championships or be the greatest international coach of all time? He's probably going to win Super Rugby championships and coach the All Blacks. But, goddamn, it would be cool to see him over here. That's my pipe dream. Thank you guys. Again, if you like this, please, like, share, comment, do all those things. This will be on the YouTube channel as well. Click over there and like and subscribe to that. Ideally, there will be an eventual transition only to YouTube because you can monetize your platform and make some shekels and, you kind of get into this for putting out good shit, but you also want to get paid for what you do. So, yeah, like, share, comment, all that stuff. Comment some other stuff you want to see, other things you want to talk about next week. Ideally, I'll have a good buddy of mine, Matty Truville, most likely on the podcast. We'll probably touch on some more USA Rugby stuff, probably some more of these points. I'd throw some things at him as a, weird, funny talking Australian. I'd like to hear, some of his points, as well as get into a little bit of some in-depth stuff in the XV series. Obviously, I'll be a part of that a little bit next week with the Army Air Corps team. So excited. Very excited to finally have an opportunity to play on the field my very last game of rugby as a real, actual player. Something that meant a lot to me, to get an opportunity to kind of play and go out on my own terms, as my playing career with the Warriors ended about as sourly and unsatisfactory as any rugby career could ever end. So awesome. Cannot wait for that next weekend. Get with the boys. But we'll chat a little more about the XV series and what that could bring to club rugby, as well as U20 and U16 options for the local regions. So comment below. Let me know what you think. Other topics, other things you want to hear. Let me know if you agree, disagree, all that good stuff. Thank you, everyone.